depending on one's position on the ever-shifting seesaw of the times, indistinguishable, in fact, from the many folk tales chorusing around them. But they became so much more during a 2-week spell in August of 1934, starting with the night they died. The night they died for the first time. The first death of the Firefly Brothers. 1. He was a man well accustomed to waking up in unorthodox positions and in all manner of settings. He'd slept on floors, in the pillowless crevices of old couch frames, amid the nettles of haylofts, against the steering wheels of parked cars. Whether it was stationary or in motion, Jason Fireson could sleep on it. He had snoozed on buses, phaetons, boxcars. He had nodded off standing up, sitting down, falling over. But this was something new. He didn't know what he was lying on at first. He knew only that he was cold, that his skin was touching metal, and that he was naked. A thin sheet was pulled halfway up his chest. He had suffered more than his share of automobile accidents, and he was familiar with the awful feeling the following mornings. This was worse. He sat up gradually, the muscles and tendons of his neck and arms achingly stiff. He thought that it would have been difficult to imagine being any more sore without being dead. He inhaled. He was accustomed as well to waking to all nature of scents, to animals in the barn below, or unwashed criminals sweating in a cramped room, or Darcy's occasional and disastrous breakfasts. But this was a strange, bitter vapor, trying in vain to mask more human evidence of body odor, urine, and blood. The room was brightly lit, 2 overhead lights and desk lamps on either side casting their jaundiced glow. He looked to his left and saw cruel medical implements lying on a narrow metal table, some of them wrapped in gauze or cloth, and all of them lying in a pool of dried blood. A hospital room, then. He'd never woken up in one of those before, so add that to the list. It was an unusual hospital, and his eyes took stock of the various items his physicians had left behind. On the same table as those grisly tools was a camera and his tall flash, an empty pack of cigarettes, and an overflowing ashtray. One of the lamps flickered on and off every few seconds. Heavy footsteps followed invisible paths above the ceiling. He could taste the memory of blood in the back of his throat, and when he swallowed, he nearly gagged at the dryness. The tiled floor was filthy, as if his physicians moonlighted as hog farmers and had tracked mud throughout the sick ward. Ringing the room at waist level was a narrow counter, and in the corner a large radio was precariously balanced on it, the announcer's smooth voice earnestly recounting the latest WPA project. Most alarming was the policeman's cap hanging from a hook on the back of a door, framed photographs of unsmiling officers haunting 3 different walls, and on the wall behind his bed the portrait of what Jason figured for a governor. Guys with jowls like that just had to be governors, glaring at him like a corpulent god. He noticed that the fingertips of his left hand were blackened with ink. Those 5 blotches, the very picture of guilt, of shame, and some very unfortunate luck indeed. At the far end of the room, a similarly unclothed, half-covered man lay on a cot, pushed up against the wall, as if trying to keep as far from Jason Fireson as possible. Then Jason noticed that it wasn't a cot. He lifted himself from elbows to palms, the sheet slipping down to his waist. His eyes widened at the grotesque marks on his chest. They looked like boils that had been lanced with dirty scalpels and had become infected, drying out crusted and black as they sank back into his flesh. 2 were in his upper chest, just beneath his clavicle. Another was a couple